Welcome back. Or welcome if this is your first time tuning in. I'm really glad you're here, and honestly, this episode is one that's close to my heart because we're talking about something so real, so common, and something that affects a lot of us way more than we admit, and that's self-doubt. You know, that voice in your head that shows up when you're about to try something new or step out of your comfort zone, and it says, "What if you fail?" Or, "Who do you think you are to be doing this?" Or even worse, "You're not good enough." And it doesn't always sound like shouting. Sometimes it's just a quiet feeling, a hesitation, something that stops you from taking action. And the thing is, most people don't talk about it enough, so we end up thinking we're the only ones dealing with it. But the truth is, everyone has those moments. Even the people you admire, the ones who seem super confident and successful, they've had to face self-doubt too. It's just that they didn't let it stop them. And that's really what I want to talk about today. Not about how to magically erase self-doubt, because let's be real, that voice might always show up now and then. But it's more about learning how to manage it, how to move through it, and how to stop letting it hold you back from doing the things you truly care about. So whether you're someone who's constantly second-guessing yourself, or you're just dealing with a little fear before a big decision or goal, this episode is for you. We're going to break it all down together. Why self-doubt shows up, what it really means, and how you can start shifting your mindset to build more trust in yourself, even if you're scared. So get comfy, take a breath, and let's have this honest heart-to-heart conversation about how to overcome self-doubt. So let's start by really diving into what self-doubt actually is. When we talk about self-doubt, it's that feeling or that voice in your head that makes you question yourself. It's the moment when you start second-guessing your abilities, your worth, or whether you're even capable of doing something. You know, it's when you're about to take on a new challenge, maybe something that really matters to you, and all of a sudden, that voice pops up saying things like, "Are you sure you can do this?" Or "What if you fail?" It's almost like this little internal alarm that goes off, and suddenly, all your confidence and belief in yourself seems to vanish. But here's the thing. Self-doubt doesn't mean you're not good enough, or that you're failing. It doesn't mean you don't have what it takes to succeed. It's just your brain trying to protect you from stepping into the unknown. You see, we feel self-doubt when we're about to do something outside of our comfort zone. We all know that feeling of being comfortable in the familiar, right? But when something feels unfamiliar, our brains get a little cautious. It's like an automatic defense mechanism trying to keep us safe. But here's the catch. Growth and change don't happen inside our comfort zones. When we try something new or take risks, self-doubt is almost like a side effect of putting ourselves out there. The important thing to realize is that self-doubt is incredibly common. It's something that everyone deals with, even people who seem totally confident on the outside. Think about it. Successful entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, anyone who's made it big or achieved something great has, at some point, doubted themselves. The difference is, they didn't let that doubt stop them. They kept going despite it. So, understanding that self-doubt is a normal, human experience is really the first step in not letting it control you or hold you back. When you start to recognize that self-doubt doesn't define your abilities or potential, you can start to challenge it and move forward anyway. Let's move on to the second point, which is realizing that self-doubt is normal and something that everyone experiences. I think one of the biggest things that can make self-doubt feel overwhelming is the belief that it's something we're going through alone, that it's just us struggling with it. But here's the truth. Everyone faces self-doubt. It doesn't matter how successful someone is, or how confident they seem, at some point in their lives, they've doubted themselves. I know, it can feel isolating when you're in the middle of it, but trust me, it's not just you. When we look at high achievers, whether they're entrepreneurs, athletes, actors, or anyone who's reached a certain level of success, we tend to think that they've got it all together, that they don't experience the same insecurities or doubts we do. But that's simply not true. The difference is that these people have learned how to deal with their self-doubt in a way that doesn't stop them from moving forward. So when you're going through moments of doubt, it's important to remember that it's not a sign that you're failing, or that you're less capable than others. It's just a natural part of pushing boundaries, taking risks, and growing as a person. Once you realize that self-doubt is universal, It becomes easier to be kind to yourself when it pops up. It's not a reflection of your worth or your ability. It's just a feeling that comes and goes, especially when we're trying something new or stepping into the unknown. When you can accept that self-doubt is a normal part of the process, it becomes a little less intimidating, and it's easier to keep moving forward even when it shows up. Let's talk about how fear plays a huge role in fueling self-doubt. Whenever we feel that voice of doubt creeping in, there's often a fear attached to it. Fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of not measuring up. Fear has this sneaky way of amplifying our doubts, making us question our abilities even when we're more than capable. What happens is that fear can make us hesitate, hold back, or even freeze in the face of something that actually isn't that scary once we confront it. Fear is deeply wired into our brains as a survival mechanism. When we're about to take a risk or do something we haven't done before, fear kicks in as a way to protect us. It's that primal response that tells us to be cautious and avoid potential harm. The problem, though, is that in today's world, that same response can make us second-guess ourselves and our decisions, even when there's no real danger. This is where fear amplifies self-doubt. It makes us question whether we're capable of handling something or if we'll fail. Now, here's where things get tricky. Self-doubt isn't always grounded in reality. A lot of it stems from fear, but that fear is often exaggerated in our minds. It's about imagining worst-case scenarios that most of the time don't even happen. When we allow fear to run the show, we end up avoiding opportunities and challenges that could actually help us grow. It's about learning to acknowledge that fear is normal, but not letting it dictate your actions. Instead of shying away from what scares us, we can choose to move forward despite it. When you face that fear and push through it, that's when self-doubt starts to lose its power. Let's explore how comparison, especially with what we see on social media, can fuel self-doubt. Nowadays, we're constantly surrounded by images of other people's lives, careers, and achievements. Social media, in particular, can be a huge trigger for comparison. It's easy to fall into the trap of looking at someone else's perfectly curated posts and thinking, "Why am I not there yet?" Or, "Why isn't my life as perfect as theirs?" This kind of comparison often leads to self-doubt because we start measuring ourselves against an unrealistic standard. The problem with comparing ourselves to others, especially on platforms like Instagram, is that we're only seeing a highlight reel. What we don't see are the behind-the-scenes struggles, the failures, or the moments of doubt that everyone goes through. Social media doesn't show the full picture, yet we tend to judge ourselves based on just what we see in others. When you start measuring your success or worth by someone else's accomplishments, it's easy to feel like you're falling short, even though you might be right where you need to be on your own path. Instead of focusing on what others are doing, it's important to shift the focus back on yourself. Your journey is unique, and comparing your progress to someone else's is never a fair comparison. Everyone has their own timeline, and just because someone else seems to be ahead doesn't mean you're not making progress in your own life. When we stop comparing and start appreciating where we are in our own journey, we start to quiet the self-doubt and build more confidence in what we're doing. Let's talk about perfectionism and its connection to self-doubt. Many of us have this idea that in order to be successful, we need to do everything perfectly. Perfectionism makes us set incredibly high standards for ourselves, and when we inevitably don't meet them, self-doubt steps in. The problem with perfectionism is that it creates this constant fear of failure. When you feel like anything less than perfect is a failure, you're going to doubt your abilities every time you make a mistake or don't get something exactly right. Perfectionism feeds self-doubt in a few ways. First, it makes us focus only on the things that aren't perfect, which can overshadow everything we're doing right. Rather than celebrating small wins, we criticize ourselves for not achieving an unattainable level of perfection. This mindset makes us hesitant to take action because we're so afraid of messing up, which means we can become stuck in inaction and self-doubt. Secondly, perfectionism makes us more likely to compare ourselves to others who seem to have everything together. But here's the thing. Perfection is an illusion. No one has it all figured out, and everyone makes mistakes along the way. When you let go of the need for perfection and accept that mistakes are part of growth, you give yourself the freedom to take risks, try new things, and learn without the pressure of being flawless. Embracing imperfection can actually be empowering because it's when we make mistakes that we learn the most, and that's where true growth happens. One way to effectively overcome self-doubt is by taking small steps that build confidence over time. When we look at a big goal, it can seem impossible, and that's when self-doubt tends to creep in. We start thinking, there's no way I can do this, or this is way too much for me. But the key is to break it down into smaller, achievable actions. Starting small allows you to build momentum and gain confidence along the way. Each small step you take is like a little victory, and the more you accomplish, the more you prove to yourself that you're capable. For example, instead of trying to write an entire book in one go, focus on writing a single chapter or even a paragraph. By achieving these smaller tasks, you begin to see that progress is happening, and this will help you silence the self-doubt that tells you it's too much or that you can't handle it. As you start to take these small steps, you'll notice that your confidence grows. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you practice and take action, the stronger you get. Over time, these little wins add up, and suddenly, that big, daunting goal doesn't feel so intimidating anymore. By breaking things down into smaller pieces, you create a path to success that feels more manageable and less overwhelming, which in turn helps to keep self-doubt at bay. Shifting negative thoughts into supportive ones is a powerful strategy for overcoming self-doubt. It's easy to get stuck in a cycle of negative thinking, where we constantly focus on what we can't do or how we might fail. Those negative thoughts can become so dominant that they overshadow everything else, making us feel incapable and unworthy. The key to breaking this cycle is to consciously shift those negative thoughts into something more positive and supportive. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, try replacing it with, I'm learning and I'm making progress. Or if you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, reframe that into, I have the skills and abilities to succeed, and I'm constantly improving. This shift may not happen overnight, but over time, it becomes a habit that will help you build a more positive and empowering mindset. The trick is to challenge the negative thought as soon as it arises. Recognize it, question it, and replace it with a more realistic and encouraging statement. For instance, if you're doubting your ability to complete a task, remind yourself of past successes or skills you possess that make you capable. These small shifts in perspective can make a huge difference in how you view yourself and your abilities, gradually reducing self-doubt and boosting your confidence. By consistently practicing this, you start rewiring your brain to focus more on your strengths and potential instead of your fears and weaknesses. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is another key factor in overcoming self-doubt. The people we spend time with can have a huge influence on how we feel about ourselves. When we're around individuals who uplift us, believe in our potential, and encourage us, it becomes much easier to push through moments of self-doubt. On the other hand, when we're surrounded by negative or unsupportive people, it can amplify our insecurities and make us question ourselves even more. Supportive people provide more than just encouragement. They can also offer constructive feedback, guidance, and perspective. Having someone who believes in you, especially when you're doubting yourself, can make a world of difference. They remind you of your strengths and capabilities, and help you see things from a different, more optimistic angle. Sometimes, all it takes is a few kind words from someone who cares to shift your mindset and restore your confidence. It's important to actively seek out those who lift you up, whether it's friends, family, mentors, or colleagues. These are the people who will help you stay focused on your goals and remind you that setbacks are just part of the journey. When you're feeling down or questioning yourself, they can offer the support you need to keep going. Having this network of positive influences not only reduces self-doubt, but also builds a sense of community and belonging that encourages growth and resilience. Practicing self-compassion and being patient with yourself is a vital step in overcoming self-doubt. It's easy to be our own harshest critic, constantly focusing on our mistakes and shortcomings. But the reality is, self-doubt thrives in an environment where we are overly critical of ourselves. When we make a mistake or fall short of our expectations, it's common to get caught up in feelings of guilt, frustration, or even shame. However, self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend going through a tough time. When you practice self-compassion, you acknowledge that you're human, and it's okay to make mistakes. Instead of criticizing yourself, you offer encouragement and understanding. For example, instead of thinking, "I messed up, I'm a failure," shift that to, "It's okay to make mistakes. I'm learning and growing, and I'll do better next time." This mindset helps to reduce the harshness of self-doubt and creates a healthier, more supportive inner dialogue. Patience is equally important in this process. Overcoming self-doubt doesn't happen overnight, and it's crucial to be patient with your progress. Allow yourself the time and space to grow, and don't expect immediate results. Trust that the small steps you're taking are adding up, even if it doesn't feel that way right away. Remember that growth is a process, and being patient with yourself helps you maintain the motivation to keep moving forward, even when self-doubt tries to get in the way. When you combine self-compassion with patience, you create a positive, nurturing environment for yourself to thrive and move past self-doubt. In conclusion, overcoming self-doubt is a journey that requires patience, self-awareness, and a mindset shift. By understanding that self-doubt is a natural part of being human, and by actively working to challenge and replace those negative thoughts, you can gradually reduce its power over you. Whether it's taking small steps to build confidence, surrounding yourself with supportive people, practicing self-compassion, or learning to quiet your inner critic, each of these strategies plays a significant role in helping you move beyond doubt and towards self-belief. Remember, overcoming self-doubt doesn't mean it will never show up again. It's about building the tools and mindset to handle it when it does. Be patient with yourself, keep practicing these techniques, and trust that with time, you'll find yourself more confident and capable than ever before.